I'm Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
And we're in a Telluride. It's good, eh? 2020 Kia Telluride.
SX Limited, top trim.
So this is the brand new 3-row SUV from Kia, and from what I can tell, it's pretty much the same as the Hyundai Palisade.
We haven't driven the Hyundai Palisade yet, but by the time we review that and release this video, we might actually already have it out. So we'll let you know our updated thoughts in the Hyundai Palisade video.
So before horsepower and torque, I need to give this an award.
For what?
Best lane keep of the year of any car so far ever that I've ever driven.
It is incredible.
We'll talk about that later, but if you have to deal with rush hour traffic, this thing's a dream machine. Horsepower and torque.
291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque from a 3.8 liter V6, naturally aspirated. Definitely not the fastest.
I would say it's slightly around dad fast.
I would say slightly around completely adequate.
And before we keep going, we know a lot of you guys watch without subscribing, so just hit the subscribe button.
You're already watching, you might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell.
So we can get to 1 million before the end of the year.
This year, come on!
So let's start with the looks.
I love this thing!
What's your favorite part on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Headlights, obviously.
So the DRLs in specific, because they're amber.
Yeah, so they stand out. This thing has so much presence because of that. Nothing else looks like this on the road. And in today's age, for an SUV to do that, that's incredible.
Do you think it would look cooler if it was white instead of amber?
I've been debating that, but I'm going with no.
It's a good reminder knowing, yes, I've got a cooler looking car than everyone else.
Exactly. They stand out so much and you can't stop talking about them. The worst part of them is that you can't have them on when you leave this thing parked when it's off. I wish there was like a solar panel on the roof that I could just leave this thing on all the time.
It just enough amber glow so people knew.
Yeah.
But then it would be like the GMs where you always think a car is backing out when it's just getting turned off.
Yeah, I guess. Whatever. Amber though. And other than the headlights, we got that massive tiger nose grille.
It looks really good. And even though they've got fake grille behind the grille, it looks good because they put in a pattern to make it look more like the Rad. What do you think of the big Telluride badge on the front?
I think it's a bold statement for them to do that, and I like it.
It's kind of like Land Rover-ish, I think.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of the market that they're trying to go for, so you can get like a super budget Land Rover kind of with this.
Yeah, well, if you look inside, it definitely feels like that.
And when I say super budget, I don't mean that in a bad way, because I really like this thing. And speaking of that badge, the name Telluride, I think it's kind of weird.
It seems like an African kind of safari name.
I think it's a place in the United States or something, but regardless of what it is, the name is just a little weird, especially because it's plastered right on the front.
What do you think of the color of this?
I'm not sold on it, but I do think that this is one of the better colors for this car for some reason.
What's the color of this called?
I believe it's called Dark Moss.
So it is a brownish green, I would say like baby poop green brown.
Yeah, definitely baby poop.
But I think the reason it's so good is because it matches the headlights so well.
Yeah, it does work, exactly. It's complementary to that headlight color.
Like I've seen this in white and it looks like an Econo van or something.
I still kind of like it in white, but I do prefer it in darker colors.
And let's talk about the side profile.
Side profile looks great. We have the coolest little touch ever. There's like a part that kind of goes up on the metal trim. It looks very nice.
It does have a pretty cool looking shape. It's not the most outlandish thing ever. It is still pretty chill.
I think the back end is where it kind of falls apart for me.
So let's start with those taillights.
They're good, but they're not great.
I think it would be a lot cooler if they made the taillights go all the way up like Escalades do, but that's kind of old styling. I don't know if that's really in anymore.
Well, what about the Kia Soul? It goes all the way across at the top.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if they had Kia Soul taillights, it would be better. It's something weird in the back, but it's pretty all right. How about the wheels?
The wheels look good. They are 20s, but they don't stand out.
Yep, plain old. And what's the Continental recommended tire?
The Cross Contact LX20.
But overall, looks-wise,
love this thing. It's absolutely one of my favorite looking SUVs, especially from the front.
Especially in this color.
It just has so much presence, which is hard to do in today's age, and make something that looks different.
Well, you can spot these headlights from a mile away anywhere. Anytime oncoming traffic's coming, you're like, okay, Telluride, 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 because nothing looks like this.
And in a world of SUVs and everything with LED DRLs and everything, they actually made it stand out. So like I said, this is just great job for them to do that.
I think this is probably one of the first cars from Kia that people are going to say, oh, like, they're not going to say it's copying someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we talk about the interior, which we both really like, I want to get into why the lane keep is the best.
Do it, because it's really good.
So I've always liked Kia Hyundai Genesis lane keep, but they've changed it up for this.
Yeah, it's been updated and it's called Advanced Smart Cruise Control, and it has lane follow assist now.
So what the old one did was it would keep you in your lanes whether you're in cruise control or not. So we've got highway driving assist, and what that does is keep you in the middle of your lane while you're on the highway. You've got radar cruise and it works perfectly. But the thing is, it never bugs you to put your hands back on the wheel. And by never, I mean once every 5 minutes or so.
And when you have to, you just give it the lightest touch and you're back off for like another 5 minutes.
Like this. And that'll do it.
It's incredible. It's such a good system.
Yeah, it doesn't have a radar that checks your eyes like BMW. It doesn't limit you to below 50 like BMW. It doesn't dial it back if you don't put your hands on the wheel enough like Tesla.
It just works.
This was better than Tesla. This is better than the BMW thing.
It's really, really good. I'm shocked.
If you have a bad commute, I highly recommend you test drive this on your commute and see if you buy one or not. Like, let me know, because this made old crappy driving so much easier.
So with lane keep out of the way, I guess it's my turn to drive.
All right.
And actually drive it.
This is how people drive it.
It drives you.
You're gonna floor it?
I'm gonna floor it. Not bad off the line, definitely not the fastest. Once you're going, that's when you notice the slowness.
Off the line, it's like 90s minivan fast.
Yeah, pretty much. I think maybe a little slower. But saying that, I have no issue with the drivetrain. It's just not remarkable in any sense of speed.
So I kept it in eco mode pretty much the whole time, and my fuel economy, no joke, was like 9 liters per 100 kilometers.
We pretty much never talk about fuel economy, only when it's really good or really bad. This is really good for a 3-row SUV.
Yeah, and we took a couple long trips on the highway. Maybe that's why. Usually we're just ripping it in town.
No, I tried in town too, and I got around 11, which is really good for a 3-row SUV.
It's better than I get in a Miata.
And by the way, for you Americans, here is that in miles per gallon.
What about gallons per football field? By Fahrenheit.
And then we've got an 8-speed automatic, and it is buttery smooth. It is not a CVT, so thank you, Kia, because now Kia is starting to do CVTs, and this is much better. I hope they continue with their regular transmissions.
But we don't have paddles, but you can shift with the normal shifter, which is actually surprising that they have a normal shifter.
Yeah, exactly. You move the shifter to the left, you can choose your own gears, but I would recommend just leaving it in drive. We've got 4 different regular drive modes, and then we have 3 different terrain drive modes. We haven't used any of the terrain modes because they're for off-roading kind of stuff. But the regular modes, like Yuri said, eco is good and comfort is just great. I pretty much left it in comfort the whole time. I touched sport here and there, not really necessary. And the steering is also really nice and light, especially if you just leave it in comfort mode. In sport, it gets a little bit firmer, but not really that much.
So the moral of the story, leave it in comfort or eco?
Pretty much. This is one of those cars. And the other thing that I noticed is that it's so quiet in here, like really quiet.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but it is very quiet.
Yeah, it's really nice. I would thoroughly enjoy my commute in this.
Man, I did like 7 or 8 hours of crappy driving in traffic, and I was not stressed at all.
Now let's talk about suspension. Again, for commuting and everything, this is great. It's so smooth over bumps. And when you send it, there's obviously a lot of body roll, so let's send it into cliche corner and prove that point. It's actually pretty good. It does have torque vectoring, which you can feel.
I noticed coming onto an on-ramp, I got through a lot faster than I thought I could.
For the size of this thing, it's really, really good. It's pretty impressive.
Like, it actually rotates.
It does. It's not like Acura super handling, but it's really good for what it is. And the suspension is not adaptive, so if you change between the modes, it doesn't change the suspension. But with this trim, we have self-leveling rear suspension, so if you load up the back, it'll actually level itself out, which is pretty cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so loading up with boxes.
Box test.
16, 17, 18, our newest box test guy, thank you for joining. And 19, Kevsky Bops, thank you so much. You've been with us for 1 year. Get your own box on patreon.com/TheStraightPipes. True gas sponsors.
True gas sponsors. Box family. So should we now move on to the interior with all the driving stuff out of the way?
Yes, we should.
So I guess the visor test?
Yeah, might as well.
3, 2, 1.
Yes, full pass.
Obviously.
And they feel really nice.
And then a small cup of coffee fits perfectly in these square-ish cup holders.
Yeah, I noticed squared off cup holders.
And then we got some back here too. We actually have a lot of cup holders in this.
Should we make a cup holder joke like the Subaru Ascent?
Nope.
Nope. It is a 3-row.
We usually don't like 3 rows.
This is one of my favorites.
Well, I think the reason why is because there's more room in every row than pretty much everything else, and it's a lot easier to get into the very back than everything else.
Because we have the top trim with the captain's chairs, so you can get a trim below without them and just get a bench back here.
To fold the middle seats down to get to the back, there's a little button that you can click on the top that'll move it forward.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's like an electric release, and we can also push those buttons from the very back if we want to fold down the middle row as well.
There's tons of room in here.
But to fold down the back row, we've got manual straps, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And the coolest part, literally, is that we have cooled seats in the second row. Cooled and heated.
The second row is almost just as comfortable as this.
Yeah, it is. And we have heated and cooled up here, and then we also have a heated steering wheel as well in the front.
Okay, back to the back row. The middle row has ratcheting armrests.
And the middle row also has peasant blockers.
Oh, it's so nice back there.
It is.
So we do have a sunroof in the back, but then we also have another sunroof up here that opens up. But you know what else you see from the back really well?
What's that?
This gorgeous headliner.
Yeah, the headliner actually does stand out. It's really nice. It feels nice. It looks nice.
Is this white Alcantara?
I think so.
It looks very luxurious. The visors are luxurious.
That's what I mean. They feel really nice.
How about the rest of the quality and luxuriousness of the rest of the car?
I'm going to start with the steering wheel. So the steering wheel feels very good, but I don't like that it's a 4-spoke.
I think it looks nice. I think this pattern here right in the middle looks different than everything else Kia makes.
Yeah, it looks like it's stitched leather, which is not, but it looks like it, which is nice. And then we've got some gloss black on the steering wheel, which I don't like, and then we have gloss black on the center console, which I really don't like.
But surprisingly, they didn't put gloss black around the infotainment.
I did notice that as well. So let's talk about that infotainment, because it is huge.
It is a wider infotainment, but it's pretty much got the exact same Kia Hyundai Genesis infotainment layout.
We have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Android Auto does not stretch across the full screen yet. Nope. Apple CarPlay does.
Yo, there's an update coming for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so we're going to do some comparison videos. Be ready for that.
It's coming.
Then we also have rewinding satellite radio stations, but we don't have Tune Mix yet. I have not gotten an answer for that from anyone at Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis. I'm waiting. I actually hate that this doesn't have Tune Mix. Anything else cool in there?
Yeah, so it has a very high resolution 360 camera and backup camera.
Then you've got cool modes where you can see the wheels in front, the wheels behind. You've got a mode where you can look straight down so you know if you're like parking over a curb or anything like that.
I just want to say that this gives Lincoln a run for its money.
It does, however, the stitching isn't as accurate as Lincoln, I think.
Okay, but the actual resolution and everything.
But it's like, do you want resolution or do you want accuracy? I think they're very close.
So let's keep talking about cameras. Where else do we have cameras? When we hit our friggin' turn signals.
Right in the middle of the gauge cluster.
That is so cool. That is the best way to do it, way better than what Honda did, because when Honda did it, it was in the center display and you had your Android Auto running, it would take that over, bring it back, flash the screen for a second. It was really frustrating. And then this is the best way to do it.
And they only did the right signal. This does both sides.
That's exactly it.
And since we're on the gauges, pretty much the exact same gauges as every other Kia Hyundai Genesis.
But I did notice that they're more fluid, less laggy. That's my description for less lag.
It looks like maybe a little sharper.
I think they raised the resolution, they raised the refresh rate. That's what it looks like to me.
Okay, and then more infotainment stuff. We have hard buttons for everything, a volume knob and a tuning knob. We've got the favorites button, which will get you right to your phone projection. It's pretty much perfect.
And then our climate controls are the same thing as well. Nice hard buttons. We have auto climate, rotate some knobs. Everything's really crystal clear.
This looks classier than any other Kia climate though.
It does. And then we have wireless charging and a USB port in there. So I found a flaw with this one, Yuri.
Tell me about it.
Close that right now with your phone charging. Now open it.
I know the trick.
Yeah, exactly. But if you didn't know the trick.
Yeah, I generally never close these. I didn't realize that did close until you pointed that out.
Yeah, it's just weird that there's a USB thing in there and then it doesn't close because you have to have the cable in there to have your USB phone charging.
And still talking about this area, we have Porsche Cayenne inspired grab handles, I think.
I did notice that.
They look pretty cool. And then, you know, behind the shifter, we've got buttons for our parking camera and all that stuff.
Let's talk about the rest of this interior because it looks really cool. We got nice wood everywhere.
And we've got soft touch all around that as well. At the bottom, we've got a lot of hard plastic that travels across the whole car, which I think is the worst part of it.
Yeah, and it is at the bottom, so you don't really notice it unless you start touching it. But what you do notice that's soft elbows everywhere, and the seats are very comfortable.
Yeah, I actually haven't found anything weird about the seats at all the whole time I've been driving it.
And because this is the top trim, we have Napa leather, and the thing that I noticed, the headrests are really soft, like really soft. Almost BMW extra optional soft. Let's talk about the price because there's nothing else left to talk about.
Hit me with it.
$53,995.
All the competition is pretty much priced around the same price. We've pretty much driven all of them. There's too many to list.
Yeah, watch all of our other older videos.
Is there any of the three-row SUVs that you would take over this and why? What features?
This is absolutely my #1 favorite right now. Outside of a luxury brand, and honestly, even with a luxury brand, I would take this over a BMW X7. Personally, I know that doesn't make any sense for anyone else, but personally, I get more joy out of this.
I can explain that to you. Nothing confusing in here. Everything is how it should be. It looks cool, it's new. It's got the lane keep that works better than the BMW.
Yeah, you've got some pretty valid points.
The sound system is also pretty much as good as most of these luxury manufacturers anyways.
It's a Harman Kardon, which is what they put into those too.
And it's almost got that Volvo style echoey thing. I would take this over a Lincoln Navigator.
So is this your favorite as well?
I like the CX-9 infotainment a little bit more than this, but other than that, like this lane keep seals the deal for me. Like absolutely seals the deal compared to all the competition.
This is way bigger than a CX-9 too.
But it doesn't feel big.
No, it doesn't. When you're driving it, it really doesn't. The driving position's great. You're nice and high, but it's like not too high. everything about this is so good.
So with this being the award winner for best lane keep in the world, and I guess the award winner for best DRLs of the year.
This is the best 3-row SUV of the year?
Oh, you can't make the title that, but maybe we will anyways. Let us know what you think of the Telluride. Have you driven one? Have you driven the Palisade? Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell.
Check out patreon.com/TheStraightPipes, join our YouTube membership, and check out Teespring for sick swag.
I'm Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
And we're going for a drive. This is a subscription break. Don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe right now. Subscribe. We didn't do that.